Tom, thanks again for that introduction, and thanks again to everybody at Matrix Capital for sponsoring this presentation today. So today, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into some new behavioral finance research on how COVID has changed our customers' buying decisions. The research is revealing the important ways that we need to modify the messaging that we're sending to our customers. In the past, our customers have approached the checkout with nothing but anticipation of the wonderful treats that they were going to purchase. You know, they might even enjoy a little chat with the clerk. But most of us remember those long ago days of casual social interaction fondly now. Our customers these days are just a little bit jumpy. So our stores have always been a bustling place where neighbors run into each other. I have a wonderful store that's near my house, and I can't tell you how many hours I have spent at that store just talking to neighbors. But now things are different. We have a tendency to get in and we get out as fast as we can. Have you done that little thing where you try to open the door with your foot and not to touch the handle? I think we all need to bone up on our door opening skills like this guy has done. But fortunately, the tech gadget industry has come to our rescue. For people terrified of doors like me, this is the foot knob. So what we know is COVID is an amazing buzzkill on impulse buying. When we're scared, our brain shuts down our appetite center and it goes into fight or flight mode. Now, the last thing on our mind at this point usually is eating. So if you look at the messaging that's been done during COVID, what you'll notice is there's a sameness about it. The ads all start with long stretches of tinkly piano music. Now after that, they brag about how long they've been serving customers.
For over 80 years. In 90 years.
Over 100 years.
Nationwide has been on your side.
Restaurants have always been there for you.
And after that, that's when the meaningless platitudes really start to kick in.
We will do what we've always done.
Take care of people.
We're people.
People.
People. People.
People.
People. And family.
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 Families are families. Families.
Even now.
Especially now.
Especially now.
Right now.
Now more than ever.
More than ever.
Today, more than ever.
Today, more than ever.
In this next ad, the company actually congratulates itself for the hard work that its own employees are doing.
Thank you to the men and women at First Energy who are going above and beyond.
Oh, I'm really selfless, aren't I? So how can you avoid these kind of inauthentic messaging to your customers? So today, I'm going to talk about some specific tactics that you can take back to your customers and create a more authentic dialogue with your customers during these very troubled times. I'm also going to show you some bad financial decisions that you might be tempted to make because your own brain is under the influence of fear. So I'm a specialist in behavioral finance, and I study how people make money decisions. What we do is we put people inside of an MRI, and then we ask them about their shopping decisions. I can look right inside a customer's brains and see the specific parts of their brain that are lighting up. We use things like EEG headsets and galvanic skim response to tell the exact components that customers get emotionally engaged about. Using eye tracking technology, we can see exactly what customers looked at while experiencing our stores. And we combine this eye tracking with brain scanning. Now we can measure a customer's stimulation levels and emotional state. Finally, we correlate all this data to specific purchases. So we also track things like brain stimulation levels as they surf the web. We can correlate their clicking, their eye movement, and their brain activity. Then we can combine them to gauge the specific level of engagement that they have going on. A little known fact, our pupils dilate when we feel something. We can measure this and tell exactly how engaged a person is. We use technology such as facial coding to read the micro expressions on customers' faces. And we can tell the exact moment when they get bored or hostile or happy. So what we can see now is both the conscious and the subconscious reaction. Today, I'm going to show you 4 specific brain science insights that you can use to prosper during times of COVID. But first, I want to talk a little bit about how our brains make buying decisions. So I've got a little test for you here. I want you to take a look at this graphic. The top is darker, right? Well, believe it or not, those 2 panels are exactly the same color. So what I'd like you to do now is to close one eye, and then I'd like you to cover up this section right here with your finger. Isn't that weird? Same color, huh? Now, what I'd like you to do is to see it for the actual color that it is. I'd like you to disregard what you know is an illusion, obviously, in your rational brain. You can't do it. You end up seeing it the same way no matter what. Next, I'd like you to stare at the X in the middle of the screen. Just stare really hard right at that X. Now, do you see the green dot? Now, try to follow that green dot with your eyes. Nothing there, right? These dots are blinking, they're not moving. What's happening is your brain's getting confused, so it creates a green dot that actually isn't there. Now, neuroscience tells us that our brains, when they get confused, it just makes things up that aren't there. So your brain utilizes about 20% of your total body energy. Thinking is very expensive. So what your brain does is it does everything it can to try to use less energy. So your brain is continually taking shortcuts. Now, research tells us that we have two distinct parts of our brain. First of all, there's the instinctual brain and our conscious brain. Now, our conscious brain can do things like math and should I go to college, and it does all the conscious things that are top of mind to us. Then we have our instinctual brain, and what it does is it empowers us to do the automatic stuff without thinking at all. This is things like recognizing friends and chewing your food. And have you done that thing where you drive to work and suddenly you realize you got there and you don't have any recollection of actually driving there? So the research tells us that this is how we make decisions. Our instinctual brain feels something, and then our conscious brain verifies what we already believe. Now, to us, it feels like it's actually a conscious decision, but what we know is nothing could be further from the truth. So I'd like you to pick a number between 1 and 5. Got it? Okay, next, I want you to multiply that number by 9. Got that number? Now, this is going to give you a 2-digit number. Next, I want you to add together the 2 digits of that number. So for example, if your number was 45, you'll add together the 4 and the 5 to get a new number. Got that next number? Okay. Next, I'd like you to subtract 5 from that number. Now this is going to be your final number. You got it? Now next, I want you to take that number and I want you to convert it into a letter. 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, and so on. Now, quickly pick a country that begins with that letter. Now take the last letter of your country and think of an animal that starts with that letter. And then using the last letter of the animal you just chose, I want you to think of a color that starts with that letter. There's just one problem. Unfortunately, you'll never find an orange kangaroo in Denmark. So how exactly did I do that? What I find is about 70% of the people will pick that. I know that your brain would do that because I know your brain is lazy. I gave your instinctual brain a few shortcuts, and your conscious brain didn't even notice any of them. So first of all, I triggered your instinctual brain to go exactly where I wanted it to go. Do you notice that I made the background color, the letters, orange? Your subconscious brain noticed this. Your conscious brain didn't notice it. Did you notice the number of letters? I gave you the exact number I wanted you to answer. Your instinctual brain noticed this. Your conscious brain didn't notice it. So what we know is about 85% of our decision-making process is completely hidden from us. Only about 15% of it is conscious. Most of us believe that our decisions are based purely on logic, that we are deeply rational beings. But what research tells us is it's exactly the opposite. We are big balls of instinct walking around. So when your customers walk into your store, their brains light up like a Christmas tree. Why? Because their caveman brain is thoroughly convinced that they're going to starve to death. And if you have any doubt about this, just try and go on a diet. Your instinctual brain will torment you every moment of the day. For most of the 2 million years that humanoids have been evolving on the planet, it's been all about basic survival. Things like not starving to death and finding a cave so you didn't freeze to death, and maybe if you're lucky, finding a good-looking cave lady so you can pass along your DNA to the next generation. Fancy skills like agriculture and living in houses, that's just come along in the last 10,000 years, only about 2% of human evolution. So what we know is our caveman brains simply have not had time to adapt. So it's important that you realize that this is not your customer. Well-dressed, good-looking, logical. This is your customer. And you've got to carefully craft a message that that cave person is going to understand. Everyone in the food industry needs to realize the caveman in all of us is thoroughly convinced that he's going to starve to death. You must optimize your message for that caveman. Now, I'd like to demonstrate this with another example.
Mate, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought there was time.
He's just pulled out. I don't have time to stop.
Oh, come on, mate. It was a simple mistake.
I don't know if I was going a bit slower.
Please. I've got my boy in the back.
I'm going too fast. I'm sorry.
Wow. All right. I'd like you to put your hand to your neck and feel your pulse. You were just in a car accident because your instinctual brain does not know that's not real. So this brings us to our first lesson. You need to think like a caveman. Why? Well, it's because emotion defines reason, and it all starts with that gut instinct. The most powerful way to influence behavior is to do this 1-2 punch. You want to make sure that you've got a convincing story for the conscious brain, but you want to spend most of your effort convincing the instinctual brain. So right now, customers are worried about coming into your stores, and their inner caveman is highly motivated to stay safe. That powerful motivation can either supercharge or torpedo your sales. So what exactly should you do? Should you use the carrot or the stick to entice them to come and visit? Should your tone be positive? Come on in and grab a great treat. Or should it be about safety? This is a safe place. Everything's going to be just fine if you join us. Should you take the half-empty glass or the half-full glass approach? It's a dangerous place out there and you need to take precautions. Your local convenience store is the best way for you to get in and get out fast. You can minimize your exposure if you think smart. Well, what we know is neuroscience shows us that fear is an amazing attention grabber. Now, I've done neuroscience analysis on hundreds of different fear examples. Fear taps something that we call the amygdala, and it's right near the brainstem. What's so great is it gives us a quick response. We can react to fear in just milliseconds. And this was really great because out on the African savanna, the amygdala made it possible for us to immediately react to danger, and it kept us from being eaten by lions.
Yes, I know. I will be there soon, taking a shortcut. Okay, bye.
Oh, that does not sound like a good idea at all. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to play a game with you. I'm going to show you something and how focusing fear can be. Now, I need you to pay close attention here. I'm going to show you a series of images. Okay, ready? Here we go. Okay, so did you see any shoes or keys in there? Well, probably not. At this speed, 80% of the people don't see shoes or keys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slow it down for you. Okay, did you see it that time? You probably did. So next, I'm going to play a different series of images, and I'm going to test you again, okay? Ready? And here we go. Okay, that time. Did you happen to notice any snakes or spiders that time? Well, I didn't slow down the images at all. All I did was I replaced the shoes and the keys with snakes and spiders. Because your brain is hardwired to recognize threats. So fear is an amazing attention grabber. But too much fear has a very unintended backlash. People will simply run away emotionally. But too much sweetness and light, it just doesn't grab people's attention. So what we know is you've got to have a mix. And this brings us to our next point. This is about during COVID times, we want to make sure that we use fear very, very carefully. What do? Point out the danger quickly, but then immediately follow up with reassurance. Everything is going to be okay. By doing that, what we're going to be able to do is show both the positive and the negative. They're both important. Next, I'd like to play a little game with you. So I'd like you to grab a pen and paper, and I'd like you to write down the last 2 digits of your Social Security number. Now, if you don't have a pen and paper handy, you can just do it on your phone or your computer. Okay, after you've done that then, what I'd like you to do is to set that aside. Next, I want to tell you about a wine. Now, this is a 2016 Cuttings Napa Valley Cabernet. Now, it was the winner of the Best in Class at the 2018 San Francisco Wine Competition. It's got deliciously smooth flavors that include blueberry and black cherry and cocoa. So next, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make a call on what you think would be a fair price for this wine. How much would you bid on it? Would you say that it's worth $25, under $25, or $25 to $50, $50 to $75, or over $75? Okay, do you have your bid? So why exactly did I ask you to write down the last 2 digits of your Social Security number as you were pricing that wine? Well, it's because those 2 random numbers had a powerful impact on exactly what you bid. Brain scientists found that people with low Social Security numbers, what they tended to do was to bid lower. And people with higher Social Security numbers, they bid higher. What I did was prime your brain with that number. This is a phenomenon that's called anchoring. And it's another demonstration that your subconscious brain is firmly in control. Now, next, what I'd like to do is I'd like to tell you about another wine. Now, this is the Sharecropper Cabernet, and it's from the Owen Rowe Winery. It was the winner of the Best in Class of the 2018 Northwest Invitational Wine Competition. It's got soft fruits with a velvet mouthfeel, and the flavors include black cherry, plum, and leather. Okay, I'd also like to introduce you to Owen Rowe. He's the man who's in charge at this winery. Now, Owen is friends with another winery owner. His name is Jonathan. In 2001, Jonathan hit on some really hard times. Because of a soil problem, his crop got completely wiped out, and he was in danger of losing his vineyard. Now, his buddy Owen wasn't going to let that happen. So what he did is he recruited all the local vineyard owners and asked them to help Jonathan out to get him through these tough times. So one gave grapes, another donated processing time, and everybody chipped in on this. Owen ended up recruiting the entire valley to get Jonathan through this tough time. Now, ever since then, this vineyard and all these vineyards have been working together. Every year, each one of the vineyard owner does their part. They get together and they create a community wine. If you had a good year, you give a little more. If you had a bad year, the other vineyards, they're going to help you out. They're going to help pick up the slack. So now, what I'd like you to do is that same pricing exercise that we did before. What would you say would be a fair value for this Sharecropper wine? Would you pick under $25, $25 to $50, or $50 to $75, or more than $75? Okay, got your bid? So what did I do there? Well, what I did is I turned this wine into a story. This wine is now infused with the goodness of Owen all about it. And this is what you must do with your business as well. During these times of COVID fear, you're not just a retailer, you're a partner, you're a business, and you need to have a story around that business. And this brings us to our next point. It's important to build a powerful story about why you're in business and how you hope to help your customers. The Cuttings wine was far more expensive a wine, but the fascinating thing is once I gave you that story, once we made the Sharecropper wine something that was about a true human being, it upped the value of it. And what I find in most of the workshops that I do is people will consistently pay more for that sharecropper wine because it's got that story attached to it. Human beings, we're all storytelling animals is what we are. Stories out on the African savannah were a big advantage, and they had a benefit because you could experience somebody else's risks and rewards. Evolution has hardwired our brain to be fascinated by stories. So let me show you another quick example of how this plays out. So, what exactly went on there? Tell me exactly what you saw. Now, in reality, that was nothing more than a bunch of geometric shapes that were moving around. But what we did is we anthropomorphized that. We attributed human emotions to those shapes because we have a tendency to think in stories. So next what I want to do is I want to play a story. And what I'd like you to do is watch yourself watch this. Look at the emotions that you're feeling as you go through.
Yeah, how about you?
Don't know really.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe going down to the pub and seeing some bands or something, so...
Yeah, I might do that. Yeah, that sounds good actually. Who's playing?
So, you've met the people and your instinctual brain's getting a little bit attached to them, so let's continue.
Hey, Mark. Come on, we gotta get going.
Now? Can't we stay a bit more?
No.
Yeah, all right, come on. Yeah, gotta go.
See ya.
You got the keys?
Yeah. Woo! No, you got them. Bye. Is it bye?
Okay, what's coming? Okay, let's continue.
God, she's so cute, Bella. She's like a wedding cake. Can't believe we've got a kid.
I'm amazed.
Me too. It's clear, babe. Oh. Are you sure you should be driving?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you ready for it? Now, what's ironic is that you probably don't want me to stop here. You want to find out what's going to happen here, despite the fact that this is going to be very unpleasant. It is. You still want to see the end of this story. And this is how valuable stories are to our instinctual brains. We're willing to put up with pain just to gain a little bit of knowledge. Okay, let's continue.
All right, Mike, make up your mind. Is it fast or slow?
Okay, you drive.
Okay, crisis averted. Feel your pulse again. You were just in a car wreck again. So the message here, they could have said, hey, just don't drive stoned. But by building it into a story, it became something that was incredibly powerful because it really tapped our instinctual brains. Telling stories completely enraptures our instinctual brain. So during times of COVID, what we've got to make sure we do is we've got to realize that our customers have been moved down Maslow's scale of needs. And where they're at is that basic emotions tend to do their best. They're worried for their safety right now. These are times of fear. And what's going to happen is they're going to be down there on survival mode. Most of us have a tendency to sell kind of from the top and not from the bottom. Now, we've done a lot of testing of the emotions that work best in the retail space. These were the 12 primary drivers that we tested that tend to work well. But there were 3 very specific ones that tended to work the best of all. That's belonging, family love, and safety. But what you'll notice with these here is they're about people. They're not about a product feature. They're not about a lifestyle. What they're about is real people who are struggling right now. And when retailers are selling to customers right now, what you've got to remember is that during these times of COVID, we've got to default back to these instinctual reactions. You've got to make a clear connection and show how your superior product features are going to fulfill a deeply held instinctual need. So, what does our caveman want from our company right now? So let me show you how your store can keep her safe, show you how you can help protect her during this crisis. Because what she needs is she needs to see that your business has a sole mission of putting customers like her first. Let me show you how one of the big box retailers turned product features into a customer-focused mission. Now, Walmart's defining product attribute has always been about low prices.
You know the feeling, the thrill of the save, that secret high from stretching $1, that little rush in finding what you need for less.
So, unfortunately, Walmart found that its big brand had some big vulnerability. What we know is brands built solely on features will always be at risk. They're very vulnerable to competitors and to market fluctuations. So Walmart found there was a backlash against those low prices. Low prices also meant they had to cut costs any way that they could.
People are out to protest Walmart's worker conditions and low wages.
Those low prices started sounding like exploitation.
Management is trained to keep their foot on your neck. They push you and push you and push you.
Walmart's win-lose business model assures that this criticism will never die.
We're tired of being fired and we're tired of being harassed.
So if you're going to define your business on such basic commodities such as price or quality or availability, it's going to be a very mean journey. So after 19 years of being always low prices, Walmart switched its slogan. Now they're save money, live better. Now this was not just a slogan change. It was a change in the entire focus of their company. Walmart was selling a product feature, not what that product feature empowered in customers' lives. So what they needed to do was to remind customers of exactly what low prices made possible.
Will you find your dad's smile in aisle 14? A long-awaited journey in aisle 10. Yeah, because when you save money on the little things, it adds up to life's more amazing things. Walmart saves the average family $3,100 a year, no matter where you shop. What will you do with your savings? Save money, live better. Walmart.
So Walmart needed to show the values behind that low prices. They needed to appeal to that caveman. That caveman needed to see that Walmart wasn't just a greedy company in it for themselves. Customers needed to see that Walmart had a customer-focused purpose. Walmart's still all about low prices. That's not going to change. But now those low prices have a customer purpose.
Here comes Peter Cottontail. The town's Easter egg hunt. Well, it's a pretty big thing around here. Without Walmart, we probably couldn't pull it off. I'm sure we'll have even more kids this year, which means more candy, more places to hide it, and, of course, more fun finding it. Get unbeatable prices on all your Easter fun this year. Easter costs less at Walmart. Save money. Live better. Walmart.
So Walmart started out as a product-focused company with always low prices. But then they grew to become a purpose-focused company with save money, live better. And as Black Lives Matter and the COVID crisis have arisen together, Walmart has stayed true to its core mission. It hasn't wandered off by hollowing a lot of hollow reassurances. What it's done is it's stayed true to its message. In these tough times, in these scary times, we'll never stop helping our customers to live better. We support our community with low prices that will help them get through this storm. And this is what you must do for your company as well. Give it that heart. Give it that purpose. Give it something that matters to your customers. So this brings us to our final point, our final takeaway. Have an authentic, customer-focused mission. It's important that your company not atrophy to the generic "we're with you" messaging that so many companies are falling to right now. Continue to showcase your product features, but make sure those features clearly demonstrate a customer-focused mission. And if you find your mission is built on either your product or, even worse, on your own ego, it's time to get busy. You've got to figure out the unique and specific customer-focused mission that you have for your business during these troubled times of COVID. It's not about what you do, it's about how you empower your customers' lives during these incredibly scary times for them. You can be a resource. You can be part of the solution that helps them see this through and helps them to prosper. But if there's one thing that I hope you'll take with you as you go back, all 4 of these points brought down together have a single takeaway, and that's the idea to learn to listen for the emotion. People don't just buy making decisions using their intellect. They buy with decisions that come from their gut. It's important that you learn to recognize the signs, and you learn to speak in the emotion that your business is all about. So if you'd like to learn more about behavioral finance, I hope you'll visit my website. There you'll find dozens and dozens of short video lessons that you can use to guide you in making smarter decisions on the front lines of business with the latest neuroscience insights. Now, I also publish a video article that comes out roughly every couple of weeks. If you'd like to sign up for that, just give me your email address, send it to me at the address coming up, and I'll be happy to send it to you. And if you'd like to talk more about behavioral finance, I hope you give me a call. I'm a geek on this stuff, and I just love to chat to people about it. So if you've got a question or you've got something that you'd like to discuss further, I'd love to talk it through with you. I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter. You can just search my name. So I hope you'll reach out. Thanks again for watching today, and I hope you enjoy all the great presenters that are coming up for the Outlook Leadership Conference.